The palace of Zerinthia shone under the twin suns, its crystal towers reflecting golden light across the city. Yet inside the grand halls, a heavy silence weighed on everyone. Princess Leora, the youngest daughter of the royal family, lay motionless on a marble bed in the central chamber. Her body was battered, her breathing shallow, and the brightest minds of the planet had already tried every method they knew to heal her. Nothing worked. The royal family paced nervously. King Tharion, tall and regal, his silver robes flowing behind him, clenched his fists. His daughter, who had always been fearless and strong, now looked fragile, like a delicate flower crushed under a storm. Queen Celine's eyes were red from worry. They had summoned every healer, every scientist, and even called distant allies, but the situation was grim. Outside the palace, the air was tense. Guards walked in hurried patterns. Whispers of panic carried through the corridors, and even the usually confident ministers spoke in hushed voices. The city's people were unaware of the full danger, but rumors of an attack that almost killed the princess had spread quickly. No one had expected someone so skilled and young to be targeted, and yet it had happened. In the midst of this turmoil, a human ship hovered in the orbit above Zerinthia. Captain Ethan Hayes stood on the observation deck, watching the twin suns glitter on the alien city below. He was a human, born and trained among the stars, known for his calm mind and steady hands. He had studied alien biology, diplomacy, and combat, and his understanding of life forms beyond Earth was unmatched. Still, even he felt a weight in his chest as he saw the panic in the reports coming from the palace. He had not been officially called to help. Humans were visitors on Zerinthia, guests in a planet still wary of outsiders. Yet something pulled him toward the crisis, a strange instinct that he could not ignore. When the royal envoy contacted him, reluctantly allowing a human near the princess, Ethan felt a mixture of honor and tension. The stakes were higher than anything he had faced before. The palace doors opened, and a pair of Zerinthian guards escorted Ethan into the chamber. The first sight of Princess Leora made him pause. Her skin, usually shimmering with faint golden patterns, looked pale and dull. Her hair lay spread across the bed like spilled light. Machines and magical devices hummed softly, trying to support her failing body, but their efforts had not succeeded. King Tharion's deep voice broke the silence. "Humanana, you claim to understand life beyond our science. Can you help her?" Ethan bowed respectfully. "I will do everything I can, Your Majesty." The Queen stepped forward, her voice trembling. "We have tried everything. No one has managed to heal her. You must know that if you fail." Her eyes filled with tears, but she did not finish the sentence. Ethan nodded. "I understand, but I ask only to try. Sometimes the answer is not in science alone." A group of royal scientists exchanged nervous glances. One of them, a tall woman with bright blue skin and glowing eyes, whispered to a colleague, "Humans have never healed one of our royals. It is impossible." Ethan did not respond. He focused on Leora. He studied the patterns of her injuries, the faint pulses of her life energy, and the strange field that seemed to flicker around her body. Something about her biology was different from any life form he had seen before. It was fragile, yes, but also responsive in a way that suggested potential, if approached correctly. Slowly, carefully, Ethan approached the princess. The room held its collective breath. Every movement was measured, deliberate. He knelt beside the bed, his hands hovering just above her chest, feeling the faint energy that pulsed like a hidden river. "Your body, it responds," Ethan murmured softly, mostly to himself. "Not to machines, not to potions, but perhaps to touch," the scientist gasped quietly. To suggest touch as a method of healing was unheard of. Yet Ethan's expression was calm, confident, and full of focus. He placed one hand gently on Leora's shoulder, then over the largest wound on her side. A soft glow began to radiate from his palm. The room fell completely silent. King Tharion's eyes widened, and even the Queen stepped back in astonishment. The glow spread slowly across the wound, the torn skin knitting together in a way that defied all known Zerinthian healing methods. Leora's chest rose more steadily with each breath. The faintest color returned to her cheeks. Even the scientists, skeptical moments ago, could not look away. It is impossible," one whispered. Ethan kept his focus. "I can feel her life trying to return. She is fighting, and her body is responding to something unique, something human." Queen Celine, with tears streaming down her face, stepped forward cautiously. How is this possible?" Ethan looked up, meeting the Queen's gaze. Every species has abilities that are unseen, even to themselves. Sometimes it is strength, sometimes intelligence. Sometimes it is the energy that flows through simple touch. The royal family and palace staff were silent, staring at the slow but steady recovery of their beloved princess. King Therion took a deep breath, feeling hope stir for the first time in hours. The palace guards exchanged confused glances, unsure whether to feel relief or fear at the humans' unusual method. Minutes passed. The glow from Ethan's hands faded as Leora's breathing became normal, her eyes fluttering open. She looked around in confusion, then settled her gaze on Ethan. "Who are you?" she asked weakly. Ethan smiled gently. "I am a friend," he replied. "I am here to help." The royal family rushed closer, relief and gratitude evident on every face. Leora's mother wept softly, brushing her daughter's hair from her face. The king placed a firm hand on Ethan's shoulder, a silent acknowledgement of the extraordinary act that had just taken place. But the moment of peace was fragile. Outside the palace, news of the healing spread quickly. Political factions within the court whispered that humans should not interfere in Zarinthian affairs. The rogue faction responsible for the attack on Leora still lingered in the shadows, plotting their next move. Ethan understood this all too well. Saving the princess was only the first step. Protecting her from future threats, understanding her unique biology, and navigating the tense politics of the palace would require every skill he possessed. For now, however, there was relief. Princess Leora, though weak, smiled faintly. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice barely audible. I thought I would not see another sunrise." Ethan shook his head gently. "You are stronger than you know, and you are not alone. We will face whatever comes together." The royal family exchanged glances filled with cautious hope. This human, a stranger on their world, had done the impossible. He had touched their princess and brought her back from the edge of death. As the twin suns set over the city, bathing the palace in a warm glow, a silent understanding formed. Something had changed. Humans were no longer merely visitors. They had a role, perhaps a vital one, in the future of Zarinthia. And Ethan, calm and steady, would be at the center of it all. Yet even in that moment of hope, shadows lurked. The rogue faction would not rest. Questions about the true nature of Ethan's abilities and the bond forming between him and the princess would stir political unrest. The story of Leora's survival was only the beginning, and the path ahead promised both danger and discovery. Ethan looked down at the princess, noting her slow, steady recovery. "Rest now," he said softly. "There is much we must learn, but for tonight, you are safe." Leora's eyes closed again, this time in peaceful sleep. Outside, the palace guards kept watch, and the city beneath the twin suns carried on, unaware that a single human had changed the fate of a princess, her family, and perhaps the entire planet. The quiet hum of alien machines, the faint glimmer of the healing light still lingering in the room, and the calm presence of Ethan Hayes marked the beginning of a story that would stretch across worlds. A story of courage, hope, and the unexpected strength of humanity. After the miraculous healing, the palace of Zarinthia buzzed with whispers and cautious excitement. Princess Leora rested in her chamber, her body slowly regaining strength while the royal family watched over her like hawks. Ethan Hayes stayed nearby, observing quietly, careful not to overstep his role. His human instincts told him that trust was fragile here. One wrong move could undo the fragile acceptance he had earned. The scientists gathered outside her chamber, still uneasy. They had studied life for decades, yet no one could explain how a human touch had reversed injuries that their most advanced devices could not heal. Dr. Valara, the chief royal scientist, paced back and forth. Her glowing blue eyes flickered with confusion. "It is unprecedented," she murmured to a colleague. "We cannot explain it. Human physiology is unlike anything we expected." King Therion entered the chamber, his expression stern but relieved. "Ethan, you have done something no Zarinthian has managed," he said. "We are grateful, but this is dangerous. You must understand the responsibility you now carry." Ethan nodded. "I understand, Your Majesty. I am here to help, not to replace anyone. I only wish to see the princess recover safely." Leora stirred, her eyes opening slowly. She looked around the room, her gaze settling on Ethan. Recognition flashed in her eyes, mixed with wonder and gratitude. You saved me, she whispered, her voice weak but steady. How did you do that? Ethan smiled gently. Sometimes the body needs more than medicine or machines. It responds to care, to energy, to understanding. You were fighting and your body wanted to heal. I only helped it along. Leora's lips curved slightly and a faint color returned to her cheeks. The warmth in her eyes was not just from life returning, but from the human who had risked so much to help her. I owe you my life, she said softly. You owe nothing, Ethan replied. It was my choice, and I am honored to have helped. The Queen, Celine, approached carefully, her hand resting on Leora's shoulder. You have a bond, child, she said gently. Perhaps stronger than we understand, but we must consider the implications. Humans were not like us. They carry powers we cannot measure. The princess looked at her mother. I feel different, she admitted. I feel stronger, yes, but also safer. With him near, I am not afraid. Outside the room, the palace staff and royal guards discussed the implications quietly. Rumors spread through the halls. A human had healed a royal with nothing but a touch. Some were amazed, some fearful. Ministers debated what this meant for the balance of power. Could humans truly be allies? Or were they unknown variables that might disrupt everything? Meanwhile, Ethan continued observing Leora, noting her slow but steady recovery. Her wounds were completely closed, and her body responded to her own movements as if regaining lost strength. He encouraged her gently to sit up, to move her arms, and to breathe deeply. Each small action brought small victories. Your body is remarkable, Ethan said. You have a strong will. That strength, it helps the healing. Leora nodded, her golden eyes reflecting curiosity and admiration. And you? You are calm. You do not panic like the others. Ethan shrugged lightly. I have learned that panic solves nothing. Understanding, patience, and focus, they do more than fear or anger. As the princess practiced small movements, a subtle energy flowed between her and Ethan. The palace scientists could see it, though they did not fully understand it. A bond had formed, unspoken yet powerful, connecting human and alien in ways science could not yet explain. However, peace in the palace was fragile. News of the princess's miraculous recovery reached the rogue faction who had attempted the initial attack. They were furious and embarrassed that a human, not a Zerinthian, had saved the royal heir. Plans were already forming for another strike, aiming to exploit fear, distrust, and the unknown factor that was Ethan Hayes. Inside the palace, Ethan noticed subtle tension among the advisors. They are worried about me, he murmured to Leora quietly. Not because I harmed anyone, but because they cannot predict what humans can do. Leora's hand rested lightly on his. Then let them worry, she said, a hint of her former strength in her voice. You saved me. You are here to help. That is enough for me. King Therion and Queen Celine observed this exchange from the doorway. The princess's resolve, combined with the human's calm presence, surprised them. Perhaps humans were not just visitors, they could be partners. Yet the unknown was always frightening. Over the next few days, Ethan worked closely with the palace scientists. He shared knowledge about human biology, energy flow, and empathy-driven healing. The Zerinthians were eager to learn, though some remained skeptical. If humans can heal in ways we cannot, what else can they do? One scientist whispered. Leora's strength improved daily. She walked slowly, her movements careful but confident. She trained with Ethan, learning simple exercises to rebuild stamina. Each time she touched him, or he touched her, the glow returned faintly, a sign of the strange, powerful energy humans could bring. One evening, as twin moons rose over the palace, Ethan and Leora sat together on a balcony overlooking the city. The air was crisp, the sky filled with sparkling stars. Do you think humans are really different? Leora asked, not just in body, but in spirit? Ethan looked at her thoughtfully. We are different, he said. But different does not mean weaker or stronger. It means we have other ways to solve problems. Sometimes those ways can surprise everyone, especially ourselves. The princess nodded, feeling a sense of hope and connection. I am glad you are here. I feel safer with you nearby. Ethan smiled gently, and I will stay as long as you need me. Unbeknownst to them, shadows moved through the city. The rogue faction had learned of Ethan's role in the healing. They whispered to each other in dark alleys, plotting an attack designed not just to harm the princess, but to undermine trust between humans and Zerinthians. Their spies infiltrated the palace, watching the interactions closely, waiting for the right moment. Back in the palace, political tension began to surface. Some ministers argued that the princess's recovery was dangerous proof that humans might hold influence over Zerinthia's future. If humans can heal royals, what else can they control? One minister asked during a council meeting. Queen Celine countered firmly, "Fear has no place in leadership. We should be grateful for the help we receive. Humans have done what none of us could. That is not a threat. It is a gift." The king nodded in agreement, though his eyes remained wary. We must balance gratitude with caution. Trust is earned, and humans are still unknowns in our world. Meanwhile, Leora spent her days learning, training, and observing. She and Ethan developed a mutual understanding. She admired his patience, courage, and ability to remain calm under pressure. He admired her resilience, intelligence, and quick adaptation to recovery. Together they formed a quiet, powerful bond. One day, as Ethan adjusted her posture during a recovery exercise, Leora's eyes met his. "I feel stronger when you are near," she admitted softly. "You are strong on your own," Ethan said, "but strength is also about connection. Helping each other, that makes us stronger together." The glow of energy returned faintly as they worked, unnoticed by the scientists outside. Each session, each shared moment was a step toward understanding, a bridge between two worlds. But the palace was not yet safe. Alerts came in from the outer city. Spies had been detected near the gates, observing the palace at night. The rogue faction was closer than anyone realized. Ethan knew that healing the princess was only the first challenge. Protecting her and ensuring that trust between humans and Zerinthians endured would be a test of courage, intelligence, and strength. That night, as the palace settled into quiet, Ethan stayed near the princess, watching over her sleep. Her breathing was steady, her wounds gone, yet the faint energy that linked them remained. It was a silent reminder of what humans could do, and a warning that danger was still near. Princess Leora stirred in her sleep, a soft smile on her lips. In her dreams, she felt a light touch guiding her, a calm presence keeping her safe. She did not fully understand it, but she knew that her life had been changed, and that the human who had saved her was no ordinary visitor. Ethan, standing by the bedside, watched over her. He did not speak. He did not move unnecessarily. He only remained, a steady presence in a palace filled with uncertainty. The first battle had been won, the healing, but the war for trust, safety, and understanding had just begun. And so, in the quiet halls of Zerinthia, two worlds began to connect. Human and alien, healer and princess. They were bound by something more than circumstance, hope, courage, and the possibility of a future neither had expected. Days passed in the palace of Zerinthia, yet tension lingered in the air like a storm waiting to break. Princess Leora's recovery continued steadily, but the royal family could not ignore the political and personal consequences of her miraculous healing. Whispers ran through the palace halls. Some spoke of gratitude, some of fear, and others of suspicion. How could a human have saved a royal in ways Zerinthian science had failed to do? Ethan Hayes remained close to the princess, guiding her through physical exercises, helping her regain strength, and quietly teaching her human methods of focus and endurance. Leora listened intently, absorbing every lesson. Yet she was also aware of the growing unease among the palace ministers and scientists. One morning, as the twin suns rose over the city, Leora walked slowly into the training hall, her movements careful but steady. Ethan followed, carrying a small device designed to monitor her vitals. "You are improving quickly," Ethan said, his voice calm. "Your body is responding well. Soon you will regain your full strength." Leora paused and looked at him. "I feel stronger already," she admitted. "But I also feel different. This energy, this bond with you, I cannot explain it," Ethan smiled faintly. "It is not unusual for humans and other species to form connections through shared experiences. You were near death. I helped you and your body responded. That does not happen often, but when it does, it can create a link." The princess frowned slightly, considering his words. "A link?" "Yes," Ethan said. "A trust and energy that flows between us. It is natural, though rare. You will feel it even more as you regain your strength." The session continued, Leora slowly lifting her arms, bending her legs, and practicing small movements. The faint glow returned when Ethan's hands were near hers, a quiet reminder of the connection that had saved her life. Meanwhile, In the outer districts of the city, the rogue faction observed every movement. They had seen the reports a human had healed the princess. Their anger and jealousy were growing. "This cannot be allowed to continue," one of their leaders hissed. "If humans gain influence over the royal family, we will lose control." The rogue faction began planning their next attack carefully. This time they would not strike directly. Instead, they aimed to undermine trust, to make the royal family doubt the human who had saved their princess. Their agents infiltrated palace staff, sending subtle messages and creating small incidents that made humans seem unpredictable, even dangerous. Back inside the palace, tensions began to surface. During a council meeting, some ministers raised objections. "We must question the human's influence over the princess," one argued. "No Zarinthian has ever allowed a foreigner such access to our royal family." "What if this is a threat?" Queen Celine's voice was firm. "This human saved my daughter's life." "That is not a threat. It is a gift." "You speak as though fear is more valuable than life." King Therion nodded but added, "While we are grateful, we must remain vigilant. Humans are still unknown to us. Their abilities may be a blessing, but they are also a variable we cannot fully measure." Ethan listened quietly to these discussions. He understood the concern. It was natural to be cautious with the unknown. But he also knew he must prove himself beyond the act of healing. The princess's recovery would soon be tested, not by illness but by threats lurking in the shadows. Later that day, Leora practiced walking through the palace gardens, her steps steady but careful. Ethan walked beside her, occasionally adjusting her stance or offering encouragement. "You are doing well," he said. "Your body is stronger and your confidence will grow with it." Leora smiled faintly. "It feels strange to rely on someone else," she admitted. "But I trust you, more than anyone here." Ethan nodded. "Trust is earned, but you already possess it. That is what allows your body to heal so quickly." As they walked, the gardens seemed peaceful, yet danger approached silently. Rogue agents had infiltrated the city, hiding in shadows, watching the palace. They were skilled and patient, waiting for the right moment to strike. Their goal was not just to harm the princess, but to destabilize the fragile alliance between humans and Zarinthians. That evening, a sudden alarm echoed through the palace. Guards rushed to their positions and Ethan instinctively moved toward the source. Leora followed, her determination shining in her eyes. The princess, though recovering, refused to remain hidden. She had experienced fear, pain, and near death, and now she would face danger with courage. The rogue faction had set fire to one of the outer palace gates, creating chaos among the guards and palace staff. Panic spread quickly, but Ethan remained calm, directing the guards to contain the fire and protect civilians. His human intuition and experience in emergencies proved invaluable. "Stay close to me," Ethan instructed Leora as they moved toward a safer position. "We must protect you and the others." The princess nodded, her fear tempered by determination. Together they moved through the chaos, rescuing palace staff and directing guards. The rogue agents were skilled, but Ethan anticipated their moves, using strategy and quick thinking to counter their attacks. During the confrontation, Ethan faced a rogue leader who attempted to break through the defenses. With a combination of agility, focus, and strategy, he neutralized the threat without causing unnecessary harm. Leora assisted when needed, demonstrating courage and intelligence beyond her years. The palace guards watched in astonishment. Humans were not just healers. They could also lead, strategize, and act decisively in moments of danger. The royal family began to see Ethan in a new light, not only as a savior, but as a protector. After the incident, the palace council convened again. This time, the discussion shifted. "The human's actions have proven invaluable," one minister admitted reluctantly. "Perhaps we judged too quickly," Queen Celine nodded. "Strength is not limited to species. It comes from courage, intelligence, and heart. Ethan has shown all three," King Therion added. "We will continue to observe and learn, but humans may indeed play a larger role in our future than we imagined." Meanwhile, Leora and Ethan spent quiet moments together, reflecting on the events of the day. "You acted without hesitation," Leora said softly. "Even when danger was all around, you stayed calm." I admire that," Ethan looked at her. "I only acted to protect you and the others. Courage is not about fearlessness. It is about choosing to act despite fear." The princess nodded thoughtfully. "Then I am learning courage too, from you." and from myself. Over the next few days, palace life slowly returned to normal, but the lessons of the attack remained. The rogue faction had not been defeated, they had merely been delayed. Their threat loomed like a shadow over the city, reminding everyone that danger could strike at any moment. Ethan continued to work closely with Leora, training her, teaching her, and strengthening the bond between them. The connection that had begun with healing now grew into mutual respect, trust, and understanding. Leora's confidence returned, and with it, her curiosity about humans and their abilities. She asked Ethan questions about Earth, human history, and the ways humans faced challenges. He answered patiently, sometimes sharing stories of courage, perseverance, and ingenuity. Leora listened intently, absorbing the lessons and applying them to her own world. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the palace, Leora stood on the balcony, gazing at the city below. "Do you think humans and Xerinthians can truly understand each other?" she asked softly. Ethan joined her, his expression calm. "Understanding takes time, patience, and trust. But when it happens, it can bridge worlds. You and I, we are already proof of that." Leora smiled faintly. "Then perhaps our future is brighter than I feared." Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will face what comes together. Trust, courage, and heart. That is what matters, not species or background." As they stood side by side, the palace behind them and the city stretching beneath the moons, a quiet determination filled the air. The rogue faction would not stop. They would continue to plot, to test, and to challenge. But Leora was no longer weak, and Ethan was no longer just a visitor. Together, they represented hope, strength, and the possibility of unity across worlds. The night was calm, but shadows waited beyond the palace walls. The next challenge was coming, and both human and princess would need every ounce of courage and trust to face it. For now, though, there was peace. The healing had been successful. The bond between human and alien had grown stronger, and the palace had begun to see the potential of humans not as strangers, but as allies. The story of courage, connection, and unexpected strength was far from over. But Part 3 marked the moment when danger, trust, and preparation intertwined, setting the stage for the challenges to come. The sun rose over Xerinthia, painting the crystal towers of the palace in soft gold. Inside, Princess Leora walked with steady steps, her body stronger and more confident than ever. Yet the calm of the morning was deceptive. The rogue faction had not been idle, and their next move was imminent. Ethan Hayes stood at the edge of the palace courtyard, observing the city. He had anticipated threats after the previous attack, but what worried him most was the unpredictability of the rogue faction. They were clever, patient, and willing to strike at moments no one expected. "Are you ready?" Leora asked, stepping beside him. She moved with ease now, no longer the frail princess who had nearly died days before. Ethan turned to her, meeting her gaze. "Ready as we can be," he replied. "But stay close. This time the danger will be more direct," Leora nodded. "I will not run. I want to face it." The palace guards had reinforced their defenses, and the council held a meeting to discuss strategy. Scientists, advisors, and military leaders debated how to protect the princess while maintaining the palace's stability. Many admitted that Ethan's presence was now essential. "The human saved the princess once," one minister said. "We cannot ignore his skills or insight. He must stay with her during all public events." Queen Selene added, "We will also increase patrols and reinforce the outer walls. But humans and Xerinthians must work together. Trust is our best weapon." King Tharion, though still cautious, agreed. "Let us prepare for what comes. And let us not forget that courage can be found in unexpected places." Later that day, an alarm echoed through the palace gates. Smoke rose in the distance, and guards rushed toward the outer perimeter. Ethan and Leora followed, quickly assessing the situation. The rogue faction had launched a coordinated strike, aiming to breach the palace defenses. Their forces were well trained, using advanced weapons and stealth tactics. Their goal was not only to capture or harm the princess, but also to create chaos that could destabilize the entire palace. Ethan moved swiftly, directing guards and assessing vulnerabilities. "The east gate is weak," he shouted. "Reinforce it now. Leora, stay with me. We'll cover the main courtyard." Leora's eyes flashed with determination. She had learned from Ethan's training and from her own experiences. Though young, She now understood strategy and courage. Together they became a team, blending human intuition with Zorinthian skill. The rogue agents moved quickly, but Ethan anticipated their tactics. Using a combination of human ingenuity and Zorinthian technology, he set traps and coordinated defensive formations. Guards were guided to positions where they could block the attackers effectively, minimizing casualties. Leora observed closely, ready to act. When one rogue agent attempted to bypass a guard, she intercepted him, using her agility and quick thinking. Though not trained in combat like Ethan, her mind worked quickly and she disarmed the intruder with precision. "Good work," Ethan said, nodding. "Keep your focus. Trust your instincts." The battle in the courtyard escalated. Smoke and dust filled the air. Shouts echoed, and the clash of weapons rang out. Ethan moved calmly, directing the flow of defenders and ensuring the princess's safety. Leora assisted when possible, her courage evident to all who watched. At one point, a rogue agent managed to breach the inner wall, heading straight toward Leora. Ethan reacted instantly, intercepting the threat. With a swift move, he disarmed the attacker and used his human agility to redirect him away from the princess. Leora, watching closely, realized how much she had learned from him. "You are quick," she said after the danger passed. Ethan smiled briefly. "Experience, observation, and staying calm. You can learn it too if you focus." The rogue faction, seeing their initial attack foiled, changed tactics. They attempted to create distractions, targeting palace staff and infrastructure, hoping to force Ethan and Leora away from critical areas. But the team remained coordinated. Guards and scientists worked under Ethan's guidance, using their knowledge of the palace and city to counter every move. Despite the chaos, a bond between Ethan and Leora grew stronger. They moved in sync, instinctively understanding each other's intentions. It was not just healing or training anymore, it was strategy, courage, and teamwork. Together they became more than the sum of their parts. At one point, Ethan noticed a group of rogue agents heading toward the princess's chambers. He quickly diverted them using a combination of traps and clever maneuvers, while Leora reinforced the inner security. The palace staff were amazed at their coordination, realizing that humans and Zorinthians could work together in ways they had never imagined. The rogue leader, a tall figure with dark armor and piercing eyes, emerged from the chaos. He confronted Ethan directly, attempting to intimidate him. "You should not have come here, human," he hissed. "This is not your world. Step aside or face the consequences." Ethan's eyes remained calm. "I am here to protect the princess. You will not succeed." The rogue leader lunged, but Ethan anticipated the attack, using strategy and agility to neutralize him without causing unnecessary harm. The leader fell back, stunned by the human's precision and quick thinking. Leora stepped forward, standing beside Ethan, showing courage that surprised even the palace guards. "You cannot intimidate us," she said firmly. "We will defend this palace together." The rogue agents realized that their plan had failed. Their initial strike, designed to exploit fear and weakness, had been countered by teamwork, courage, and strategy. Slowly they began retreating, aware that they were outmatched. Ethan and Leora did not relax immediately. They moved through the palace, ensuring that all breaches were contained and that everyone was safe. Guards and palace staff worked efficiently under their guidance, inspired by their bravery and calm leadership. After the chaos subsided, the royal family gathered in the main hall. Princess Leora, standing tall and confident, looked at Ethan with gratitude. "You saved the palace," she said softly. "I could not have done it without you." Ethan shook his head. "We did it together. Your courage, your quick thinking, it was as important as anything I did." King Therion spoke, his voice full of pride. "You have proven that trust and cooperation can overcome even the greatest dangers. You, human, have shown us that courage knows no boundaries of species." Queen Selene added, "And you, Leora, have grown stronger through this trial. Your bravery has inspired everyone here." The royal ministers, once skeptical, now nodded in acknowledgement. They had witnessed firsthand the strength of humans and the potential of cooperation. Fear had given way to respect, and caution had turned into cautious hope. That night, the palace was quiet once again. Leora and Ethan walked through the gardens, reflecting on the day's events. "I never imagined danger could feel so close," Leora admitted. Ethan nodded. "It is a reminder that courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to act despite it." Leora smiled faintly. "Then I'm learning courage. From you and from myself." Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. And you will continue to grow stronger. Together we can face whatever comes next. Outside the palace walls, the rogue faction retreated into the shadows. They had failed, but their determination had not wavered. Plans for future attacks were already forming, though they underestimated the bond between human and princess, and the courage of a people willing to stand together. Inside the palace, preparations began for the next steps. Guards were trained more rigorously, defenses were strengthened, and the city's people were informed of the need for vigilance. The royal family recognized that the days ahead would require courage, unity and trust, not just from Leora and Ethan, but from everyone who called Zerinthia home. As the twin moons rose over the crystal towers, casting soft light across the palace, Ethan and Leora stood together on a balcony. The city stretched beneath them, calm yet aware that danger could return at any moment. "We survived today," Leora said softly. "Yes," Ethan replied, "and tomorrow we will be ready for whatever comes. Courage, trust, and heart, those are our true strengths." The princess nodded, feeling a quiet determination. The bond between her and the human who had saved her life had deepened, and she knew that together they could face any challenge. The story of bravery, healing, and unexpected strength continued, as human and Zerinthian prepared for the trials that awaited them. Danger would return, but they would meet it together, stronger, wiser, and united. The morning sun glimmered over Zerinthia, casting long shadows across the palace walls. Princess Leora stood at the balcony, looking out over the city, her mind racing with thoughts of recent events. The rogue faction had retreated for now, but their presence was still felt, a reminder that danger never truly disappeared. Ethan Hayes joined her, quiet as always, but alert. "The city is calm for the moment," he said, his voice steady. "But we must remain vigilant. They will return, and next time they may be more determined." Leora turned to him, her golden eyes bright with resolve. "I am not afraid anymore," she said. "Not like before. I know that together we can face anything. You have taught me that courage is not about being unafraid, but about acting even when fear is there." Ethan smiled faintly. "You have learned quickly, and you have courage in ways even humans cannot always reach." The palace guards and staff were already working on reinforcing the city's defenses. The rogue faction had made one thing clear: they would not give up easily. But Ethan and Leora now had more than strength. They had experience, strategy, and the support of those around them. That afternoon, a messenger arrived, breathless and urgent. "Your Highness," he said to the princess, "we have received intelligence. The rogue faction is gathering a larger force. They plan to strike the palace tonight?" Leora's expression hardened. "Then we must prepare," she said firmly. "We cannot allow them to threaten our people or our city." Ethan placed a hand on her shoulder. "We will face them together. You and I, along with the palace and its defenders, can stop them." As night approached, the palace transformed into a fortress of vigilance. Guards took positions along walls and towers. Patrols moved through the city, and the princess prepared herself with the same determination she had learned from Ethan. She no longer felt fragile or uncertain. She was a leader in her own right. When darkness fell, the rogue faction advanced, their forces far larger than before. They approached stealthily, intending to breach the palace gates and create chaos. But Ethan and the palace defenders were ready. The first clash erupted at the eastern gate. Ethan coordinated the guards, directing movements with precision and calm. Leora moved through the hallways, ensuring civilians were safe and guiding injured guards to shelter. The energy between her and Ethan was palpable, a quiet bond that gave them both strength and focus. The rogue faction's leader appeared again, his dark armor glinting under the moonlight. He had underestimated the princess and her human ally. This time he intended to challenge them directly. "You cannot stop me," he shouted. "Your strength is nothing compared to what we bring." Ethan stepped forward, meeting him calmly. "Strength is not just about weapons or numbers," he said. "It is about courage, intelligence, and protecting those who cannot defend themselves. That is our strength." The rogue leader lunged, but Ethan and Leora moved in perfect coordination. Ethan intercepted the first strike, using human agility to redirect the attack, while Leora helped block the leader's advances from another angle. Together they made a formidable team, blending strategy, reflexes, and courage. Meanwhile, palace guards engaged the remaining rogue forces. Despite being outnumbered, they held their ground under Ethan's guidance. The princess's presence inspired them. They saw her bravery and determination, and it strengthened their resolve. During the battle, a rogue agent tried to sneak into the royal chamber to capture Leora. Ethan noticed immediately. With swift movements, he neutralized the threat and moved the agent away from the princess. Leora assisted by using her knowledge of the palace layout to block other entry points. "You are doing perfectly," Ethan said. "Keep your focus. Trust yourself as much as you trust me." Leora nodded, her confidence unwavering. She had faced death before, yet now she faced danger with determination and clarity. The glow that had appeared during her healing returned faintly, a sign of the energy connecting her and Ethan, giving her strength beyond the ordinary. The rogue leader, seeing his forces falter, grew desperate. He launched a final attack, aiming to overwhelm Ethan and Leora. But the princess acted quickly, guiding defenders to strategic positions, using both her intelligence and courage. Ethan moved alongside her, countering attacks with precision, protecting the princess and ensuring that the palace remained secure. The battle reached its climax in the main courtyard. The rogue leader attempted a direct strike at Leora, but Ethan intervened, using a combination of agility and strategy to disarm him. Leora, seizing the opportunity, assisted in restraining him until the palace guard secured the area. With their leader captured and the remaining forces retreating, the rogue faction was finally defeated for now. The palace defenders cheered, inspired by the courage and teamwork displayed by human and princess alike. The city had been saved, and the bond between Leora and Ethan had proven unbreakable in the face of danger. King Tharion and Queen Selene entered the courtyard, observing the aftermath. The princess, standing beside her human ally, exuded strength and confidence that had grown beyond what they had imagined possible. "You have both done something remarkable," the king said. "Not only did you defend the palace, but you inspired our people. Humans and Zorinthians working together. It is a new hope for our world." Queen Selene added, "Leora, you have grown into a leader. And Ethan, you have shown that courage, loyalty, and heart transcend worlds." The princess turned to Ethan, her golden eyes bright with gratitude and admiration. "You saved my life once," she said softly. "And now you helped save my people. I cannot thank you enough." Ethan shook his head gently. "You saved yourself as much as I helped. Your courage, quick thinking, and determination made all the difference. I only guided you," Leora smiled faintly. "Then we guided each other. Together." The city celebrated cautiously, aware that threats could arise again, but inspired by the bravery displayed by the princess and her human ally. Stories of their courage spread, reminding everyone that trust, teamwork, and heart could overcome even the greatest challenges. In the days following the attack, Leora and Ethan worked together to strengthen the palace defenses and train guards in new strategies. The bond between human and princess grew stronger, not only through shared danger but through mutual respect and understanding. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the city, casting a silver glow over the palace, Leora and Ethan stood on the balcony once more. The city below was calm, peaceful for the first time in weeks. "I never imagined my life could change so quickly," Leora admitted. "I almost lost everything, yet now, I feel stronger, braver, and more certain of myself." Ethan looked at her, calm and steady. "Sometimes life tests us in ways we cannot predict. But those tests reveal courage we did not know we had. You have proven that, Leora." The princess smiled softly. "And you? You are not just a healer or a protector. You are someone I trust with my life." Ethan nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "And I will continue to protect you as long as you need me." Beyond the palace walls, the rogue faction retreated into the shadows, weakened and defeated, but still alive. They would plan again, yet they had underestimated the bond between human and princess, and the courage of those willing to stand together. Inside the palace, life began to return to a new normal. Leora trained, learned, and grew into her role as a leader, while Ethan remained by her side, not just as a protector, but as a trusted ally, friend, and companion. Their connection was stronger than any force that sought to disrupt it, and it symbolized the potential for unity between worlds. The royal family recognized the change. Humans were no longer strangers. They were allies capable of remarkable courage and skill. And for Leora, Ethan represented more than just a human visitor. He represented hope, trust, and the extraordinary possibilities that come from unexpected bonds. As the stars shimmered over Zorinthia, Leora and Ethan stood together on the balcony looking at the horizon. They had faced danger, healed, and fought side by side. The future was uncertain, but they were ready for it, stronger, wiser, and united. And so, the story of the dying princess healed by a human concluded, not with an ending, but with a beginning. A beginning of trust, courage, and the bond between two worlds that would change the future forever.